For Mastercam 2020, Edit Spline has been modified to provide a workflow that's more consistent with Edit Surface, enhancing your ability to make changes to splines and surfaces. When using Edit Surface and Edit Spline, you can now select and manipulate multiple nodes and/or control points by holding the Control key while making your selection. When you're done selecting, simply press Enter to begin editing. Mastercam 2020 also gives you greater control of the gnomon alignment when editing nodes and control points in the XYZ mode of the binormal plane. Curvature combs represent the curvature of the surface and display curvature continuity or discontinuity. In previous versions of Mastercam, a sliding scale was used to control the curvature comb. Starting in Mastercam 2020, the sliding scale has been replaced and the scale value now controls the display of the curvature vectors. You can also control comb spacing with the new chord height and number options. There have been a number of enhancements made to various CAD functionalities for Mastercam 2020. Hole Table creates a set of parameter notes for all holes and circles in your part file, allowing you to gather hole data and record it in a table for part inspection. In previous versions of Mastercam, Hole Table was an add-in that was launched from the Home tab along with other add-ins. Hole Table was also limited to finding hole geometry only on the active plane and only recognized wireframe geometry. For Mastercam 2020, Hole Table has been integrated into the Mastercam interface. It is located on the Drafting tab and has received a number of enhancements. Hole Table is now capable of recognizing multiple geometry types, which enables you to select wireframe, faces, edges, and bodies. You can filter your selection to any combination of these types, as well as individually remove a selection. Additionally, you can control the direction of each selected hole. You can now define the scope, size, and position of the table and labels describing the hole geometry. You can describe the holes in radii or diameters, and you have the ability to add location coordinates for each hole relative to the origin or world construction plane, tool plane, and WCS. On the Advanced tab, you can show or hide the hole table and direction arrow in the graphics window. You can also create a report directly from Hole Table by selecting Create under the Active Reports group. Mastercam 2020 adds support for single-stroke TrueType fonts for the Create Letters function on the Wireframe tab, as well as Note on the Drafting tab. Mastercam also includes a new single-stroke font called OLF Simple Sans CJK OC. This font is similar to Arial and has over 35,000 characters that help support a wide range of languages, such as 400 glyphs for English and Romance languages, 200 Cyrillic characters, 300 Greek and Coptic characters, 70 Hebrew characters, several hundred accented Latin characters, and over 33,000 Chinese, Japanese, and Korean characters. In previous versions of Mastercam, you had the ability to choose to create a surface when creating wireframe geometry, such as rectangles. New in Mastercam 2020, you now have the option to create a surface while using the circle center point and circle edge point functions as well. Line Normal now supports arc selection. When you select an arc, Mastercam creates a line from the arc center in the normal direction. A new, more efficient workflow is available for Trim by Plane and Trim by Surface Sheet for Mastercam 2020. The new workflow eliminates the solid selection dialog box and defaults to line as the method of specifying the selected plane. Join Entities now provides a preview of the join before selecting OK. The model prep functions in Mastercam 2020 have received a number of enhancements. When using Align to Face, you now have the option to toggle new Stop on Contact functionality. When sliding a solid along a vector while Stop on Contact is enabled, Mastercam will automatically stop the motion of the solid when it comes in contact with another solid face. Press Shift once to enable Stop on Contact, and press Shift a second time to disable it. Additionally, Align to Face now supports multiple undo and redo commands. Starting in Mastercam 2020, Find Features has been renamed to Add History in order to better reflect the enhancements that have been made. Add History now allows you to create hole operations, which were introduced in Mastercam 2019. When you select the Hole Operations option, holes in a selected solid without history are recognized and saved in a new hole operation in the Solids Manager. Add History now supports the selection of multiple bodies as well. Push-Pull now allows you to create a new solid instead of only modifying the source solid. Select Move to extend or shrink the solid body based on the faces you have modified. Select Copy to create a new body using the selected face as the base. Mastercam 2020 includes a number of enhancements to Solids functionality. Prior to Mastercam 2020, Boolean did not support pre-selection of any solid bodies. If the target and tool bodies were selected before the panel was opened, the Boolean function would launch in an error state. Starting in Mastercam 2020, Boolean now recognizes if you have pre-selected the target or not. If you have not pre-selected the target solid, you are prompted to select one when you start the function. Additionally, Boolean now supports the selection of multiple tool bodies. This is helpful if you're extruding multiple bodies, such as letters or numbers for a sign. You can select multiple bodies in the graphics window or in the Solids Manager by holding Shift and clicking to select a range of solids, or holding Control and clicking to select specific solids. When selecting solids in the Solids Manager, you must select the solid body at the top level and not a solid operation that's part of a solid body. Solid Hole has received a number of enhancements as well. On the Advanced tab, you now have the option to assign unique colors to solid hole operations to help differentiate between different operations. Additionally, you can save feature colors as part of a custom hole definition when you add a hole to a presets list. This functionality is especially useful when automating drilling operations with ProDrill. Also on the Advanced tab, a new option allows you to make solid hole operations positions that were created with Mastercam 2019 associative. To update operations made in Mastercam 2019, edit the solid hole operation, and on the Advanced tab, an associativity parameter will update from non-associative to associative. Mastercam creates point entities if no points or arc centers were associated with the original operation. Position. Remove all deletes all prior selections in the position list. When creating a chamfer at the top of a hole, you can now directly enter the measured chamfer size instead of entering a percentage of the diameter. Mastercam 2020 includes a number of enhancements and improvements when working with wireframe entities. In previous versions of Mastercam, Curve All Edges would only allow you to create curves from outer boundaries of any selected solid faces. Starting in Mastercam 2020, you now have the ability to create curves on the inner as well as outer edges of selected faces. Curve Flowline has been enhanced with the ability to create curves that follow a surface's patch boundaries, which are the true representation of the underlying surface. The plane indicator that displays when using the Curve Slice function has been improved, providing a clearer visual representation of the plane. The Divide function allows you to trim or break entities graphically by holding down the left mouse button while dragging the cursor over them. Now in Mastercam 2020, Divide will display indicators at the locations of the items you have trimmed or broken, and moving the cursor back over those locations will undo your previous actions. Mastercam remembers the sequence of your trim and break actions so you can undo more than one past action. If you complete a divide sequence by releasing the mouse button, you still have the option to undo or redo your actions by using the controls on the Quick Access toolbar, or pressing Ctrl and Z or Ctrl and Y. In previous versions of Mastercam, Trim Break Extend combined multiple functionalities into a single interface. Starting in Mastercam 2020, those functions have been separated into individual functions on the Wireframe tab in the Modify group. Trim to Entities allows you to trim or extend one entity to another. Trim to point breaks geometry at selected points on the entity. Modify length, which was previously called extend, will extend or trim the selected entity by a specified distance. By separating these functions, users can now leave the options in each dialog set to values that best fit their workflow instead of needing to toggle the dialog options each time a different functionality is required.